Welcome to the Ethical Podcast, where we explore human experiences. We're going to start with a critical question about fear. To understand fear, we have to understand what is the amygdala. And in order to understand why good leaders can make catastrophic choices, we have to look under the hood. Let's start with the culprit. We hear the word amygdala thrown around in pop psychology all the time. But strictly speaking, what is it? What's its function? How important is it? And let's start with knowing that it is the oldest, most primitive security system we own. The amygdala is a small almond-shaped cluster of nuclei located deep within the temporal lobes. Think about it as the brain's smoke detector, the alarm system, the one that detects imminent danger. And its only job, its singular evolutionary purpose, is to scan the environment for threat. Think about that. A scanning system for any type of danger. And to make matters worse, it's fast. How fast? Incredibly fast. It processes information in milliseconds. Long before the information reaches your conscious mind. Just think about that. You're not even conscious before this information is already in the amygdala. It's the first filter of how we recollect data. Think about if you were afraid of a snake. Before you even realize that you're looking at one, your amygdala has already seen the shape. It spikes your heart rate and perhaps tense your legs to run. It bypasses the thinking brain entirely. And why? To put you on survival mode so you can live another day. And it's fascinating because this information makes your brain tell your kidneys to release adrenaline, and that adrenaline pumps into your heart. And this is where we start having palpitations. Fascinating, right? And we have to understand how useful this was, especially when we were running from predators, when we were being hunted, when we haven't formed tribes yet. But let's bring it to today's day. How does this look like in a modern office space? Because we aren't running from tigers anymore. We are running from emails, from information, from people, from tasks, from obligation, responsibility. We're running away from bad quarterly reports. And more important, and we also have to realize we fall victim into the perfectionist trap very easily. And the amygdala's design flaw is that it cannot distinguish between a physical threat to your life or a social threat to your ego. This is the reason why we feel attacked. And let's analyze this a little bit more contextually. To your brain, an order, a supponent, feels exactly the same as you were being attacked by a tiger, by a mammoth. The alarm bell rings as loud as you were being chased by an angry mob or something or someone pointing a gun at you. And the worst thing is when that bell rings, it creates and it initiates a hostile takeover of your entire nervous system, preparing you for the famous freeze, flight, or fight. And we have to identify how fear kills reason. Let's talk a little bit more about that takeover. We've described a situation where the brain mechanism essentially short circuits. And we must ask ourselves, how does the amygdala affect our ability to reason? It's a zero-sum game. I want you to imagine a seesaw. On one side, you have the prefrontal cortex. This is the executive center. It handles logic, reasoning, impulse control, future planning, plotting, and our ethics. It's the part of you that knows right from wrong, similar to what Sigmund Freud explains about the id, the ego, and the superego. On the other side, there is the amygdala, which we've been talking about. We're lecturing. The issue here is that they can't both be in charge at the same time. So one or the other has to function. When the amygdala spikes and creates high arousal, it physically shuts or shoots blood flow and oxygen away from the prefrontal cortex. This is what we call cortical inhibition. Literally, the logic center goes dark. It's opaque. This means that in the state of a high fear, a leader or any person is biologically incapable of complex, nuanced thought. Their IQ drops 20 to 25% immediately. And why? Is because they lose the ability to see the future. They are so present in that moment because of how they feel and how they're scanning the environment or the threat they believe to see. They cannot project themselves. And this happens to everyone and anyone. Like I said before, fear does not discriminate. It affects every one of us in the same biological manner. This explains so much about CEOs and leaders, ethics and values. We see this in scandals constant. For instance, a CEO, a hedge fund manager, executive, a politician gets caught in a lie. And instead of coming out clean, what is the first thing they do? And coming out clean is the logical path. It's the long-term play to feel at peace with yourself. But what is it that they do? They instead lie more. They try to shred the documents like we have seen in many movies. I remember a scene from The Devil's Advocate where they're trying to shred all the documents and hide the truth about their operations. But the most significant thought we all have is when we look at them and say, how could they be so stupid? Didn't they know they could get caught? Or they will get caught at some point. But in that moment, we're being irrational. You're not thinking about next year, the following day, the following month, the following week. You're not thinking about your siblings, your family, your kids. The amygdala always doing is screaming to survive for the next 5 minutes. Hide the threat, stop the pain, stop the embarrassment, stop the persecution. The ethical brain this whole time, as we explained before, was shut down, was offline. They were operating on pure animalistic reflex, primitive instance of survival. So we have to ask ourselves, is unethical behavior in a crisis actually a failure of biology? Give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think based on what we're talking about. Have you ever lied instead of facing the truth? Your ethical truth? More importantly, are you fighting your own wiring to do the right thing? Because at the end, we have to ask ourselves too, is panic the enemy of our integrity and value? And since we're talking about stress factors, because to keep a lie, it becomes more stressful every single time as you have to cover up and create another lie. Let's talk a little bit about that, the cortisol and the freeze. And cortisol is just not electricity, a shock. It's chemistry. When the alarm rings and it's telling you to move, the body floods with chemicals. And those chemicals are reacted by cortisol. And as you all probably know, cortisol is the stress hormone. In a short burst, it's good. It focuses you. It stresses you enough to concentrate on something. Give you a good example. The reason why we wake up after we sleep is thanks to that, to cortisol, making us focus to wake up. But it also prepares you to fight. But in high stake leadership, what is cortisol doing? Because now the stress doesn't become a burst. It's a constant hum. It's there present too long. And what are the effects when our cortisol levels are high? If they hum all day. And as you probably guess, chronic cortisol, it's toxic to the brain. It's the poison to the brain. It actually damages the hippocampus, the part of the brain that is responsible for memory and content. This leads to what we call hypervigilance. Those that have been at war, that have been under tremendous stress, you see them looking to the left, to the right, not knowing if something is going to pop up suddenly. They're always expecting the worst. This is also happening to our executives, our politicians. They feel under attack all day, every day. They fear not having the power, the status quo, finance, the elitism. A leader with chronic cortisol poisoning, they see threats where there are none. They imagine the threat. It's called something automatic negative thoughts. I'll give you a good example of what that can look like. And we've probably seen this a lot in the corporate environment and at work, or even when we're playing a sport as a team member. Think about when an employee asks just a simple question. They ask a simple question, and that is taken by the leader as insubordination. And what comes next is retaliation from that leader, abusing the power they have. Also think about the partner that just offers you advice, and that is seen as betrayal. People with cortisol poisoning, they become paranoid. Everyone is the enemy. They're not safe anywhere and everywhere with anyone. And think about this. Paranoid leaders create toxic environments, toxic cultures, division, disunity. And the reason being is because they're always striking first. Almost like Machiavelli said, get them before they get you. And they're striking imaginary enemies. Because after all, nobody's coming there to get them. But they have this tale created in their brain. And it becomes their defensive mechanism where they hide. And the only thing they know is to fight, to protect themselves. And then right after this, We see the freeze response, the still moment. We all know what fight and flight looks like. It's a very reactive you're able to see, but the most dangerous out of all of these is the freeze. Why? Because the brain calculates that it can't fight or flight. It's trapped. It can't run away. So what it does, the response, it plays dead. Fascinating, right? In a corporation, this looks like analysis paralysis, where now you start to see the yaysayers, the people that would not speak their mind, although they're thinking about it, but they just keep to themselves. And this mask that people wear feeds the shadow, creating huge loads of cortisol that transforms into resentfulness. I want to dare you guys to, let's try to form like a committee. Let's commission another study. Let's wait for more data. This is the common things people would say. Let's wait. What they're doing is they're stalling. They're hoping that the threat disappears because they don't know how to respond to it. They believe that standing still long enough there, the threat would go away. But in the modern world, in today's day, in today's workplace, in today's schools, in today's office, standing still is a decision. Similar to if you ever experienced a leader not making a decision as they try to wash their hands, is perhaps the most cowardless decision a leader can make. Saying that they cannot make a decision, although they can ultimately do it to make and create a bigger impact on themselves and on others. And while people freeze, expecting the threat to run away, let's think about what happens internally. The reputation burns. The freeze is what often kills the company and not the initial crisis, because what's in stake is the reputation. If the company or the leader fearlessly made the right choice for everyone and where everyone went. Have you ever faced a leader that gave you the answer of, that's not my position, I don't oversee that, I can't answer that, I will have to consult with someone else, it's above my pay grade? This is the example of not making a decision is a decision. You should be very careful about encountering these kind of leaders. They are the worst. They're only there to save themselves, no one else. Welcome back again, Ethics Skill Podcast, where we explore human experiences. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do not forget our campaign. We are committed to transform your subscriptions into pro bono programs for mental health, so you can free somebody's mind from their traumas and help them heal just by subscribing. Very simple, and it costs absolutely nothing. Help us through this campaign, and we just want to pay forward, not only to our viewers, but for those that can't afford mental health services. Just remember, the statistics are real. Only 4 out of 10 Americans can afford mental health services. So help us change that. Hopefully, we can move the statistics and perhaps move it from 4 to 5 out of 10 people have good mental health services. Let's start.
To the success of the Unity Brunch, may we continue moving forward together. Cheers!